Hello, everyone. This is Miss Silly with Miss Silly Lessons Learned. I have a very special guest today, as I always say, because every one of my guests is special, especially my former students. So Melissa was my former students and club member like over 10 years ago. So I'm going to give a moment to Melissa to introduce herself and tell us what is she doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Sui. Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about it exactly 10 years since I graduated high school. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Melissa Aguilar. I am currently a TV anchor slash field reporter with Telemundo Arizona here in Phoenix. That's what I've been doing now for the past, I'd say like 5 years. It's what I've been doing in TV. So it's been quite a journey so far.
Yes, Melissa, it's amazing where you are right now because I know your road to becoming, a journalist is, it's a lot of work. So can you tell like the audience like what did you have to do in order to get to where you are today, to get on television and Telemundo?
Right. So nowadays, the position is called multimedia journalist. I think in that, just in the name itself, you're basically a one-man band. You do everything by yourself. I was born and raised in Yuma, Arizona. That's where I met Miss Silly at Kofa High School. But I started there right after I graduated college at NAU in Flagstaff. I came back home one winter and I saw that they were actually hiring at the local station in Yuma, which is KYMA. At the time, though, they were starting Telemundo 3, which is the Spanish side of news. And it was the first time that they were actually going to have Spanish news in Yuma, which was a really big deal. For some reason, I was always drawn as a little girl to Spanish news. I felt like it was more dramatic, and I enjoyed watching it with my mom, with my grandma, especially with my grandma, and just with my family in general. So I was drawn to be a part of Spanish news because I felt like it would have a bigger impact with being Mexican and being able to communicate with my audience, my community. So anyway, fast forward after graduating college, I was visiting home. They had an opening for a reporter and a weather girl in Yuma. So I applied for that position, got a call. I think like a day later, it was like the turnaround was so quick that it was a little like nerve wracking. But yeah, I got the job. I was in Yuma for I think like 2.5 years. Now in being a part of that team in Yuma, that's where I learned, how to be a reporter because you're basically kind of thrown out to the wolves, by yourself to do everything. Not to say that, we wouldn't get help, but I do think that like we were so independent that you kind of had to learn to do things on your own. And that's where I learned how to be my own camera person, be my own writer, producer, anchor woman, reporter, weather girl. I literally did everything, and that's how I was able to move on to a bigger market, which is Phoenix now. And when I got hired by Telemundo Arizona, I was first started out in Tucson, which is like they have their bureau office. So that's where I was at for 10 months. And, again, I was by myself doing everything. I would go to the border, I feel like almost every other day. And I would just have like my camera, set up my lights, mic myself up, turn on a device that allows you to go live. And yeah, it was really, really like I would have, I don't know, like 12-hour days almost every day when I was in Tucson. But now I'm where I'm at right now, in Phoenix, and now I'm a TV anchor on the weekends, and then I report 2 days out of the week. So I've
Wow.
come a long way, like you said.
Yes. Melissa, what was your mom and grandma's reaction, when you told them you were actually going to be on Telemundo, they usually watch it?
Yeah, I mein, they were very excited. I feel like we were all excited as a family when I got that call. Like it's like when you get those calls and you have them on speakerphone, and your new boss is telling you, "Hey, you got the job." I think I remember when I got the job in Yuma, the person that was standing next to me when I had the phone on speaker was actually my older sister. And I feel like we do everything together.
Wow.
So I kind of had the phone with her, and I was just kind of jumping with excitement, and I had the phone on mute. And then when I got the job in Phoenix, it was basically like all my family was there. And again, the
Yeah.
same vibe. Everybody was just super excited.
Yeah.
We're a very supportive, close-knit family though. So I feel like my accomplishments are their accomplishments. So
Yeah, definitely. I
yeah.
really admire your family. Your sister was my, student as well. And then your mama, I've been to your house before, and your
Yeah.
mom and all her degrees. Remember
Yeah,
that? I
yeah.
mean,
She
she's
well,
a
she has she came, to the US when she was pregnant with us. So
wow.
29, 30 years ago. Because my sister turned 30 today. So, she's been in the country for 30 years now, and she learned English here. She went to ESL classes at AWC. She got her like two master degrees at
I
NAU. So it's
know.
like, woman, what? Like,
I know. I was like, wow, I'm so impressed. That's like a lot of
yeah.
work,
Yeah, she keeps joking that she wants to do a doctorate, like a PhD, and I'm like, girl, calm
Hey,
down.
hey, your mom, she might be joking. She's like planning already. She's like, hey, by the way,
Right,
I signed up for my doctorate,
right. So I'm like, please don't like pressure us like that because I'm trying to live my life calmly,
right?
man. Yeah.
Right? Melissa, what is like the most like heartbreaking or the most inspiring story that you have covered that really like stayed with you even after you were done reporting?
Yeah, I've covered a lot. I think it's always kind of said, and I think people don't understand this
Mhm.
as, as law enforcement, obviously they're first responders to scenes, and they get just as traumatized, I feel, as we do as media,
Yes.
because when something is breaking news, when something just happened in that moment and we're asked to go to the scene by our producers, by our news directors,
Right.
a lot of the times we don't even know what the heck is happening. We show up and we're just as uninformed as the public is. So sometimes it can be very traumatizing. I do remember about a year and a half ago, and I think it was before COVID, that everybody was under lockdown, that there was a story. I was actually, and I remember everything vividly. So I
Yeah.
was having dinner with a friend, with one of my coworkers, and I was telling him like, hey, like I'm done with my story for the day, like everything went so well.
Mhm.
Like let's just have a chill dinner. And then I get a call from my producer, and she says there's a call about a drowning. She's like, I think a child drowned in a pool. So I was
Oh,
like, oh my God, like, and it's those things where you're just so overworked sometimes as reporters that you just kind of think like, oh, like, are you sure? Because sometimes calls come in and they're not real.
mhm.
They're like false alarms. So I kind of thought that day, like, are you sure, like, you need me to go? Like, I'm kind of far away from the scene, like I'm trying to get dinner, like thinking selfishly, because I was just like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
But then I ended up going because she's like, no, it seems like it's pretty serious, like you need to go. So I show up, and it was in South Phoenix. South Phoenix is predominantly Hispanic people, so that's a huge part of our audience here in Phoenix. So, like I was like, okay, like it's understandable why I'm here tonight. I show up, and then the PIO, the public information officer for Phoenix PD, she's also Latina. So I saw her, and she's always very like strong. Like she has like a very, like serious personality, almost like very like boss ass.
Yeah.
So when I show up to the scene and I see her, she looks like devastated. And it was the first time I had ever seen her like that. And I'm looking at her, and like you could see that she had been crying. And
Oh,
I'm like, yo, like, is this really like a drowning case? Like what actually ended up happening? So I approach her, and I'm asking her questions, and she's like, look, she's like, it's not, she's like, like new details are going to be coming out as like the night progresses. It's not what we thought it was. Like, that's all you need to know. And so that already, like, as a reporter, I was like, what's
oh,
going on? Right. So like a few minutes pass by, and she gives the whole media, everybody staged there, photographers, reporters from every like channel here in Phoenix. And she starts telling us, it's a mom who acts like actually killed her three kids before her husband got there. All
what?
the babies were under 2 years of age. This girl is like, I think like younger than 30 years old. She had suffocated her kids with a pillow as she like sang them a lullaby. To me, that
Oh,
always like stayed. And I remember coming home that night crying. And I'm not a mom, so like it's those situations where like you don't even have to be a mother. Like it's just like it hits you hard just as a human being, because you don't understand why somebody would kill her three kids and just kind of leave them there to die, without being able to defend themselves. And we also saw the heartbreaking moment where like the dad comes to the trailer park area where they live, and he just looks like he's devastated. Like he starts crying, and he didn't know that she had killed the kids because he had seen them before he went to work. So I don't know. It's just it's stories like that that I feel like sometimes I come home and I'm drained and I cry and I have to talk to other people like my mom, my sister, my producers. I think that that week though that we covered that because it was like a long week of coverage, just with new details that were unfolding every day. I think I did take like a day off because I told my boss, look, like I can't do it because I'm showing up to work every day and I'm just stressed out and I'm crying and I go home every day and every time something new comes out, it's just like more devastating and I can't do it. So we stories like that do stay with us for quite some time.
Right. And then, you still have to do your job, like you said, when
Oh
you show
yeah,
up to
you
a
have to
scene.
look like you're 100% pulled together all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, and then also for you to, speak fluently, you have to tell your story, in Spanish, and you have to like make sure you get everything in there,
Oh
that's
yeah,
like so
and
much
that's
pressure.
also right. And I feel like sometimes people don't get that either. Like just being bilingual, born and raised in the U.S., but my job requires me to be 100% fluent in Spanish, in writing and grammar and in speaking and everything. Thankfully, I feel like I've come a long way since Yuma that like my Spanish has gone so much better
Yes.
because being raised at the border, our Spanish is so informal. It's so
Yes.
slang. It's so slang that when I started working with Telemundo, like people would call me, viewers would call me and tell me like that's not the way you say that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I feel like I had to develop like a like thick skin, to like really. And even my mom's a teacher. My mom would be the first to tell me like, "LOL, you said that wrong today." Like, "Ha ha ha, fix it." You
Yeah.
know. So like she
Yeah.
would kind of say it in a joking manner, but at the same time, like, no, like you need to fix yourself. Like you can't be saying stuff like that on air. So that's a challenge though, being bilingual and having to translate everything on like in that moment, especially when it's breaking news,
Right.
and you're getting fed the information in English. So I'm like, oh my God, how do you say that in Spanish? Like, oh my God, we're going live in 2 minutes. I don't know how to say it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And be able to like, just flip your brain and go, okay, wait a minute, I have to do this in Spanish and I have to do
Right.
the correct, terminology,
Right.
or
Right.
my
Right.
viewers can be calling me out about it. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like thankfully though, like the one thing that I do get complimented a lot is for my pronunciation of words and my
Yes.
enunciation and just my dictation because people tell me like your Spanish is so it's so sharp, like the way you pronounce words, like we want to learn Spanish because of you. Like I've gotten that from a lot of people who don't know the language. They just say like the way you speak Spanish is so beautiful, and I feel like that gives me like it just motivates me to continue learning even like new words in
Yes.
Spanish. Yeah.
No, I totally agree, with them because I remember when you were doing the weather, the
Yeah.
first time, and I was like watching you, I was like critiquing you, like
Yeah.
your like your enunciation, and I don't even speak Spanish except the bad
Mm,
words, but I was like,
yeah.
dang, she's boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
and then also being able to look at the camera and be aware of your surrounding and then
Yeah.
telling like the story. So I
Yeah.
mean, it was just like everything was synchronized.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm really proud of you for being able to do that. I mean, like you said, you have come a long ways,
Yeah.
with your with speaking Spanish so fluently.
Yeah.
So Melissa, speaking of stories, because I know our time is not we don't have that much time left, but can you tell the audience about your first Emmy and the process of the Emmy? Like, how do you go about submitting, and then like the
Right.
membership and all that?
Right, right, right. So I'll try to condense that just because of the time.
Right.
But so basically, the Emmy Academy is, I'd say, like an association. Like, in order to be a part of it, you have to be a member. You have to pay a annual fee. Right now, I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it's like in the hundreds. Not not 200, but like 100 and some. But yeah, the process of submitting for an Emmy, basically, you submit whatever aired. You can't submit something that didn't air. Like it has to have aired. You have to have like the air date, the air time, everything, the length of the story. You have to have a description of what the story was about, and the story has to stand out because not everybody wins an Emmy. So what I submitted about 2 years ago was a story at the border down in the southwest border in Yuma, So I traveled down there from Phoenix and I interviewed a guy who used to be in the business of human smuggling. So if you guys remember, I mean, back in like 2016, 2018, there was an influx of people who were coming into the border, and, like in the thousands. So to me, that was really interesting to like, to even just see somebody who was a family who had come in illegally, and, they were getting sheltered a lot of the times in churches. But I wanted to understand, like, one, why did you come into the country? Because we know that a lot of the times people come for better opportunity. But, I just kind of wanted to know their story. So I interviewed two families who had come in from Guatemala. They told me that they had sold their land just to even come because they have to pay somebody to cross them, a human smuggler. So then I got in touch with the guy who is from the Yuma area, and back in the day, that's what he used to do. He used to help the people who would come into the country illegally and kind of be their transportation, and do all that stuff. So I went down to the border, interviewed him, and then yeah, that's how I got the Emmy. I actually have it here as a
Yeah.
request from you to show it.
Woo!
But yeah, it basically tells you here, what the story was about. Because I'm a multimedia journalist, it gives you the position there. And yeah, the story, there's different categories too for the Emmys. Mine
Wow.
went under program segment, social concern news. So yeah, that's what I won the Emmy for. I don't know if we have time to kind of play a little bit of it.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
definitely.
Let
Go ahead
me,
and show us, what you want.
yeah.
How was your sister's reaction when you told her you want an
Oh my
Emmy?
God. I feel like everybody was more excited than me in the most positive way ever. Because, a lot of the times though, too, like my family understands what it was like for me to be driving back and forth to the border, which is,
Yeah.
when I was in Tucson, that's like in total, like to and from, that's 8 hours plus my 8 hours of work. So it was very, very tiring to constantly be
Wow.
driving back and forth. So I feel like they, more than anything, they understand the struggle that went with
Yeah.
it. And I feel like that's why they were a lot more excited.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we hear it? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
Okay. So this actually
You
aired
might have to turn
as
it
is.
up a little bit, Melissa.
I feel
Can
like
you,
it's turned up all the
is it
way,
turn up?
actually. Yeah. Oh, never mind. There we go. Si te llevabas 5, ya son 15,000. El tráfico de migrantes a los Estados Unidos le generó entre 200 a 230 millones de dólares a traficantes y humanos en el 2017, según una investigación por parte de Rand Corporation. Dejamos nosotros nuestros pedacitos de terreno, tenemos un lote de terreno, está registrado y le dejamos empeñado en los documentos, algo ahí. Y como dice el dicho, el dinero hace bailar al perro. Este hombre que dice traficó humanos hace 11 años explica que la ambición por tener más lo convirtió en coyote. Estaba morro y pues el dinero, o sea, ya sabes, la gente se va el dinero. Nunca tuvimos mucho dinero nosotros, pero de ahí me fui. Pero ¿cuál es la rutina del negocio? Cuando los traes, tú te los llevas a una casa y los vas dividiendo la gente y pues ahí se quedan. Les quitan los teléfonos para que so yeah, that's a snippet of
it.
Hablen
Yeah.
because I mean the story is like 4 minutes long, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
So like, what was he saying? Like how do people pay him? How much do people pay?
Yeah, so I mean, if from what I remember from the story, people pay upwards of like $1,000 per person to cross. Yeah, per person. So he was getting some cut from that because he also has other people that he needed to report to. But he was just talking about like the process of that a lot of the times, the people are coming in families. I also interviewed, I don't know if you saw that person that was like just the silhouette of that person to protect their identity. So that was somebody coming in from Guatemala, and he's basically saying how he literally had to sell his whole land and like, leave his family behind just for like an opportunity of like getting a job out here and like eventually sending money to them. So, I decided to do this story because I was seeing again that there was such a huge influx of people coming in, but you also understand that at the end of the day, it is a business because people are paying, they're called in Spanish coyotes, but in English it's the human smuggler. They're paying them a lot of money just to make it. A lot of the times too, the women get raped, the women get, killed. Like it's a risk. Like you have to be willing to take that risk in order to like have a better opportunity, not just for you, but for your family. So, and then too, like, I think like more like more forward in the story, he talks about how they would hide the tracks of the people so Border Patrol wouldn't see it. And he actually showed me, yeah, right here. He talks about how he would go with two, you know, the big palms, like in Yuma, the palms you see, he would take the palm leaves and cover it. But watch, let me show you.
Algo que no sucedía antes. Pum, pum, pum. Fíjense, línea de reversa. Síguele, síguele, síguele. Antes se usaban dos hojas como de una palma y se iban limpiando las huellas de la gente. Dice que no está orgulloso.
But yeah, he's basically saying how they would take the palm trees and like just kind of wipe the people's footprints so Border Patrol would, you know, not see that they had crossed through there. Yeah, so they constantly had to figure out new routes to cross these people so they wouldn't get caught and so the people wouldn't be stopped. So
yes,
it's interesting.
Because I remember, right? Because you know how living in Yuma, you know, like the Border Patrol agent, they would change where they would, you know, set up the station all the time because of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Were you scared at all? Like
no, because honestly, like it's really crazy, but I feel like in this job you meet all sorts of people. Yeah, it was weird. I actually met him, and you know, obviously like his identity is protected as well, but I met him when I started off in Yuma, and at first he started reaching out to me as an admirer, right? And so I didn't know who he was. And when I worked in Yuma, I would get a lot of like random presents from guys in the community. And the first time that anybody ever sent me flowers to the station was from him. And so from there, like we developed like some sort of communication. I won't say it was a relationship because it wasn't. It's just those people that randomly message you and you message back, but you're not checking up on them and they're not checking up on you.
Right.
So that's how it was. Like he would randomly send me things to the station. And I remember one time when I had this idea, I remember that he had kind of told me about that a little. So I reached out to him again and I was like, hey, are you interested? And he said, yeah, as long as he would cover his face up with the ski mask. So that's how we went about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so crazy, right? You know, you can you can find stories at the random, you know, moments with people, you know?
Yeah. And then this year too, the Emmy submission that I did for the Emmys of this year were also down in Yuma, because I feel like a lot of stuff happened in Yuma. And I'm also very proud of my hometown. Yes. You know, we know that Yuma is like the ag capital of the world. So I did the impacts of COVID in the agriculture sector. Yeah. So that was also really cool to kind of shoot down there and talk about, you know, how much money the field workers and the field owners were losing because there was any demand on products. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, and then you know the scene. We know that community. We live in.
Oh yeah.
So I think it makes a big difference, right? Yeah. All right, before we go, can you give us one more? Show us one more sample.
So I can show you, just because now, like I mentioned, I am, I'm also an anchor, which I wasn't before.
Yeah.
And this is not my newest, but we've started doing a lot of. Oh man, I wish I would have saved. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
Because I feel like I'm always downloading things.
I know, right? And then trying to find it where it is.
Yeah, I just have so much stuff, but I wanna share the most recent, like,
yes,
in our studio now. Let me see, because a lot of these are like at home, because we anchored for a whole year at home.
Wow.
But I want to share some in the studio because we've started our station started getting a renovation. So it just looks so clean.
Nice.
Everything. Let me see. Oh, here, watch. Just so you can get a taste of our studio.
Estoy contenta porque por ahí me han contado que en estos próximos días tenemos un descenso en la temperatura. Verónica Quintero, cuéntanos más al respecto. Ya sabes que este tema a mí me pone feliz. Te va a gustar lo que te voy a enseñar.
And so that's actually one of my close friends from work right now.
Yeah.
And I share that because I feel like a lot of the times now in TV, people forget how to be themselves or show their personality. Yeah. And I think a lot of the times what I try to do and what I hope sets me apart from other anchors or reporters is that I really do try to be myself at all times. And with her, she's a weather person. I try to be funny from time to time because I consider myself like goofy, you know? So I try to be myself with her and, you know, just kind of tell her like, it's so hot, like I hate it, but you know, what can we expect? you know?
Right.
And then we also started filming. So we started doing our newscasts live from location,
Right.
and that's very exciting too. Let me see. And then so
Exciting,
this
but
is
isn't that like stressful too? You're doing live?
it's stressful, but I feel like this is where your personality kind of comes in too. But let me show
Right.
you. This was last Saturday. We were live from the Suns Arena.
Yes.
Buenas tardes, gracias por acompañarnos en este sábado. Nosotros ya estamos en vivo desde el centro de Phoenix para traerles toda la acción de este juego número 5 de la NBA. Soy Melissa Aguilar y estoy muy bien acompañada el día de hoy.
It's so cool to see your name on the screen.
What's that?
It's so cool to see your name on the screen, you know?
Yeah. So thank you. And like that's like the most recent like out in the field. And then
Did you love it?
I love it. Love it. This is from, you can tell this is like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This is when I started anchoring. My hair's obviously different. I feel like I sound different, you know, like I feel like even then I sound more, what's the word? I feel like as I've gone more experience anchoring, I can add more, again, the flair of like my personality. Whereas a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was anchoring, I feel like I was more like anchor woman, like this is serious. And now I'm like, tell me about your day, you know, like what's going on? Like it's more like relaxed. It's more like, let's laugh a little. But yeah, I've definitely seen like a growth just in the last like year of COVID and having to work from home. And because working from home too, like I will say this before we go, we didn't have a teleprompter in our homes. We didn't have anything. And I had to put on my reporter hat and set everything up in my living room. So yeah, so like my living room became my studio. And I couldn't depend on anything in front of me. Like it was all pure personality and pure not memorizing, but more like I had to put everything down in bullet point format in my head. Like this is, you know, like this accident happened here, 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 and like these are the victims. Like to have like in a way of delivering the information to where obviously you're sounding more conversational because you don't have a script in front of you, but at least I had the important information, like the facts. So I had to learn and memorize like 30 minutes worth of information every night, and that was challenging, but I feel like that made me more conversational and better now in the field, where like I don't need a script in front of me. Like I can do it without. And it's fine. Yeah.
It's almost like muscle memory, you know, you like,
right,
okay,
right. No, I would tell my mom, like, I feel like every night after I finish, like, and I have to memorize so much, like my head just hurts.
Yes.
So I'm just like, oh my God, like my brain capacity, but.
Right, it's like overloaded. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, you know, you have grown so much, you know, just like you said, you know, I love that you know, your personality comes through, you know, and then, you know, hey, Melissa, do you do your own hair and makeup too? Do you have to do your own
everything? I do everything alone. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, you know?
And I will say this too, because a lot of people ask me on social media, for those people that follow me, they know, and like maybe you've seen it too. I'm a huge shopaholic. I could shop till I drop every day. I love dresses and I love heels. Like I'm always in heels, and I feel like maybe you remember from high school too. I was always in heels.
Yes.
But a lot of people ask me, you know, do you get like some type of incentive for clothing? And we don't. So everything that we buy comes out of our pocket. So because I do get asked that a lot, like, do you do your own hair and makeup, and does your station give you the clothes you wear? No, no to both. Like it's all us. Yeah.
Wow. I think there should be like, you know, uniform fund money or something, you know?
Yeah, some type of like clothing salary. Yeah, I would love that.
I know, you go crazy, you know, just go to Mexicali and, you know, you can like find a lot of good stuff, you know?
Right, yeah.
I know we have to go, but Melissa, what, anything else you want to say about, you know, advice for young people about, you know, failures or success?
So what I do want to say is that, you know, with this career of being a TV reporter, TV anchor, or even a multimedia journalist, for those, you know, people that dream of becoming that, of being like, you know, the voice of the people, because that's essentially what we are. You know, we're that connecting factor to people. When they don't know what's going on, we can tell them what's going on. It's a very rewarding job, you know, all in all. It's very stressful, it's very draining at times. Those are the negatives. But then on the flip side, you always, you know, you also see the positive side of like helping people out in the community. Sometimes, you know, I remember doing a story of a man who didn't have AC, and he was like a person, like an older person, like 60 some. And I did a story because he reached out and he's like, look, I don't have an AC. Like, can you help me out? The next day, a company went and installed a free unit, and they paid his bills too. And so I feel like that's what sticks with me every day. That even in like the most negative of days, the days when like people, because they egos do get in the way too, producers, you know, other talent. Like I always have to remind myself at the end of the day, there is a reward to this, and the reward is that we're helping people, we're communicating with people, and it doesn't get any better than that, you know. I don't do this for fame, because just as teachers, we don't get paid what we should. That's the reality. So we don't do it for that. I do it for the passion of, you know, like I love just being the voice of the people and being able to just, you know, bring somebody happiness if we can, you know. So if anybody wants to do this, I always say, like, chase your dreams. Find somebody that can mentor you too. Find somebody who can help you grow. Be open to feedback. Always be open to feedback. I feel like that's what's helped me grow the most in my career, that I was always willing to take criticism from people, even if it was negative. Like I would have people calling me like, hey, like black doesn't look good on you. Like you look sad, you look depressed today. Like don't wear that, don't do this, don't say it like that. Like, but I would kind of like brush it off, but at the same time I would keep it very present and think, you know, it's if they found it so necessary to call me up or send me a message, it's because maybe I should consider changing it. Like don't be closed off and think like, oh, I'm better than you, like I'm on TV. No, you know, at the end of the day, like it is our job, and people look up to us one way or another. So, you know, be open to all these things, and again, like have a mentor, chase your dreams. And you know, my door's always open too. If people ever need help, or if people ever need any type of advice, I'm always here to help the new generation of people who want to be reporters or TV anchors. But more than anything, chase your dreams, because I come from a small city, and you know, I'm here now, and it only gets better from here. So that's what I
Perfectly
say.
said. Melissa, you're the second person I interview today that mentioned the same thing. You know, Arturo, he mentioned the same thing, you know, earlier about being the voice, you know, for the people. And you definitely are the voice for the people. And I hope you continue doing that, because as long as you have like that positive attitude and your smiling, beautiful face, you know, it actually brings, you know, happiness to other people as well. The way you report, like your personality, and just, you know, you're so passionate about what you do, and that's what comes through in your work. So, you know, I'm really proud of you and your Emmy. So hopefully 2 3 more Emmy.
Yeah,
Right.
hopefully. Yeah, and you know, before we go, I do want to say, like, because my mom's a teacher too, and my sister, as you know, I feel like teachers make the difference in student
Oh,
lives. Like I'm not here just to like just to say because you're here, but you know that like we've hung out outside of like you being my teacher. And I think that like it really matters who teaches kids, you know, like you need to always encourage them to excel, to do their best. And no better teacher than you, honestly. You there's like 3 4 teachers from Kofa that I remember that to this day, like I still follow up with you guys because I feel like you guys made a difference in my life. And I think that like like I said, I can't stress it enough. Like I always tell my mom, like, thank God that you're a teacher, because you guys are so motivating and encouraging. And that's why kids are able to be successful in the future. So we're a product of you guys. That's all I
oh,
gotta say. Yeah.
yes. You
Yeah.
know, well, on behalf of your mother and sisters and I, you know, we really, you know, appreciate that, you know, because sometimes we don't get thanked for
Yeah.
anything, you know, instead of like, why you didn't do this and that. So I really appreciate that,
And
especially,
I
you know,
remember, I remember telling you one time too. I was like, I'm gonna be on TV, and I'm gonna have like, when I'm rich, like we'll travel the world. And I'm like, it's still gonna happen. Like you never
yes,
know.
I know. I'm like, you know, I remember all the times I dragged you guys to like all the different club stuff,
Yeah,
IFE. Remember the old people's home? Remember that?
yeah.
Oh
But it
man,
makes a difference. Like people don't understand how much these things and just being involved make a difference in people's lives. Like
yeah.
because you become more human. Like there's no better way of doing things than to just to be involved and again following your dreams.
Yes,
So
definitely. All right. With that said, everyone, thank you so much for listening and, to Melissa and her amazing story. I hope you feel inspired to be the voice of the community, like Melissa says. Until next time, take care of each other and yourself. And then I'll see you again. Bye, everyone.